we have a special segment today, and that is Open Mic. So I'm here with Jillian and Harrison, and today we're going to talk about three newly released albums. And the first one we'll be talking about is Cardinal Moon by Maxh. So I'll turn it over to Harrison.
Hello, Noor. It is an honor to be back in the studio. It has been a while, and I'm so happy to be part of Open Mic / Noor's New Release Mondays. I'll be introducing Cardinal Moon by Maxh. First and foremost, Maxh is a musician, photographer, and producer. We love a multi-role capable personnel. Maxh is also from Toronto, Ontario, a local musician, and his album Cardinal Moon was released on the 29th of September 2023. Now, Maxh described it, and I quote, "Dedicated to my external need for closure, a sparkle in the distance, a tear I finally shed, incredible feelings and inevitable ends and beginnings," end quote. And I feel, wow, this is quite of a good explanation and kind of a really, really deep explanation in terms of people who first encountered this album. And then the very last sentence that he described on his Bandcamp for the Cardinal Moon was the catchy one for me, which was, quote, "Self-platonic, intimate, and forbidden love with stop sign and shiny sprinkle emoji." So, yeah, that's the album that I'm going to be talking about.
Awesome, yeah. I mean, I was not expecting what I heard when I first listened to this album. I really loved kind of like the jazz that's incorporated in particular, but it was kind of like, I don't know, it was kind of a mix of a few different genres, at least that's what I got. But
yeah, so for Maxh, there were other journalists who covered his discography, and and Maxh decided to, so there's like Spotify's like artist description section. So a lot of artists can put their own like biography / description and then post it under Spotify channel. And for Maxh, the description described R&B, jazz, neo soul, ballad, and pop, including but not limited to. So yes, I think you're pretty on track in terms of jazz one, because some of the songs are, I didn't want to use any labelings, because this album itself is so diverse. It's like Wiener Kebab, which is we're gonna talk about later. But for some of the songs were very full on jazz. Some of the songs are hybrid of R&B and jazz, and some of them were jazz and soul, and some of them were so synth pop kind of vibe. So yeah, you're kind of on track on that one. I definitely agree with you. Yeah, it's something that when I first saw the album art or the name of the album, definitely not something what I expected. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I agree that it's not one of those albums where you can just categorize it as just like one like concrete like genre, because like that's honestly what really makes it incredible and so strong. Because and like earlier before we came on air, just like the first thing I thought of when listening to the album is just like how elegant in a sense it is. Just like everything just flowed really well together, and it's just like, it's almost like it touches your soul almost, very like soulful in a sense that it's like you're memorized.
Yeah.
It like takes you somewhere else, like you're in a different place or a different world.
That's exactly what I kind of got, especially when I first started listening to the album. That's what I kind of felt. I felt like I was being transported to like a different place mentally. I don't know.
Yeah, it's some. If I am to describe a situation where I think this album would be quite a perfect fit, it would be a late night highway drive where like no car at all, and sky is so clear where you can see the full moon with just a little bit of cloud. And imagine like you have your windows rolled down in the summertime and playing this album with such jazz soulful thing, and you're on a car ride with your best friends, which happens to be one of the songs in this album. Which, by the way, the song itself, it talks about the things that we would do with our besties, like, conversational all-nighter sessions, making stupid conversations, making stupid jokes with our friends, and also the song itself featured quite a bit of giggles in the background noise, which I think is quite a good way to describe this album, and also the song itself. So Yeah.
That was one of my favorite songs from the album.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I also just really liked like the idea behind the lyrics. I feel like most of the time you either hear about like love songs, breakup songs, but not a lot about like platonic love and that sort of thing. And it was also kind of a more upbeat song, and
Yes.
as compared to some of the earlier songs as well. So I just really like that in that song in particular.
Yeah. And I think I can say this in a quite subtle way, if I can, which is platonic. Maxh described self-platonic, intimate, and forbidden love, right?
Yes.
And I think for the song Best Friend, it's kind of at the gray area / jumping around the boundaries between platonic, intimate, and forbidden love. Because if you think about it, it's a very, 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 very thin line between platonic and intimate loves. So, I don't know.
I got that feeling too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. The song itself, it's someone might caught feeling. I don't know. Just saying.
A little crush.
Yeah, just a little crush. You know, I mean, we all get a bit of a crush on everybody, but is that major enough to quote ruin the friendship? We'll never know.
Always difficult decision to make.
So always tricky.
Yes.
Always tricky to navigate.
Yes, and speaking of the crushes, the another song, which is Every Time You Walk, I went through the lyrics, I listened to the song quite a bit of time. I want to say like minimum 3 times, and if I can describe it into one sentence, it will be when you just got crushed on someone and it's the description of the feeling, you know, when you just got a really, really huge major crush, and it's that how would I say it, sugar-coated moments where like everything that person is doing, it's like, oh, it's so cute, you know, I really like her, oh my god, that's really cute and everything, that kind of feeling. I think that song is the one that kind of really describes it well. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a lot, but Maxh, this album...
No, you're like making fantastic points. Like,
yeah, and that song in particular, I kind of got the feeling of like the beginning stages, like the infatuation, that kind of thing.
Infatuation, that's the word I was looking for. Thank you.
That's what I got from that song in particular. It honestly described it really well. Like that moment where you just kind of, you know, noticing every detail in a person when you first start to like them.
Yeah. So like, what's it like, the rose gold like lens or like the
filter.
The filter, yeah.
Filters.
Yeah, which makes everything more beautiful. Everything, the hot pink kind of vibe, you know. And I love it.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, and there are 2 more songs that I want to talk about, and from this album. And the first one is the song called Tell Me. I think this song is the forbidden love part. We all love a really, really good hot specific tea. I think this song is warranting a box of popcorn that we need to, you know, with a caramel popcorn, and just, you know, looking at the situationships that's been happening.
Situationship.
Yes, well, exactly.
A popular term these days.
I can confidently tell you did not. Whoever's listening to us right now, you probably did not expect to hear the term situationship today, but the song itself is about playing games. It's pulling like tug of war between 2 people who are kind of in a situationship. Because the lyrics, if I remember correctly, it talks, quote, "If you want me, tell me, but if you don't want me, tell me that too. But if you don't want me, you're gonna miss out on good things." I don't know. I think that's quite a bit of a forbidden love part. Just saying. Yeah, and the second song I wanted to talk about was the harmony. This song is not like a peachy, like a sugarcoat, you know, infatuation kind of vibe, but more like I personally associated with a lot because the song itself depicted quite a bit of overthinking tendencies. I am a huge overthinker, and I was like, thanks, Maxh, for calling me out on that one. But also, the additional part that came after that was the good memories and instant connections with like new friends, and overthinking tendencies, and instant connection with new friends. Those are some positive and negatives, right?
Yes.
And there comes a moment in our lives where it becomes five to five, balanced. And I think that's the reason why Maxh described this song as harmony. Harmony itself is quite a hard thing to get these days, because we're always on we're always imbalanced. Something's always high. Like, for instance, right now we're reaching reading week. Our academic stress is going to be pretty high, but at some point it's going to come down, and our happiness will come back up and harmonious again. And one thing that I think I'm going to keep thinking about this week would be, quote, "Don't want this harmony to be taken for granted because it's always changing," from this song. It's the lyrics. So I don't know. Overall, in general, I mentioned about this album in last week's top 5, and I have been constantly recommending this album to everybody because I love this album. And if you tell me this album is not good, then I'm not too sure about friendships. So that's my take on Max's Cardinal Moon. Thanks for listening to my rambling.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. It's a very unique album, and you can't really describe it by any one genre. And I really also just love the electric piano that I kind of heard throughout the album. I really like when artists kind of take one sound or one instrument and then kind of string it throughout the whole album. It kind of creates like consistency.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, let's move on to the next album, which Jillian will be describing.
All right, so today I'll be doing Sunset Honor Unit and their latest album, Desire Pass. This was released September 29th, 2023, same day, so that was really funny, just like coincidence.
I did not realize. I just realized it.
Because when you introduced it, I was like, it was meant to be. It was meant to be to have both these albums on for today.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is, Sunset Honor Unit is Drew Kirby and Jacob Chisenhall, and they're based in Atlanta. And what was like really cool about this album is, first, the cover art is like, start with that.
Yeah.
When you first look at it, you will think it's a country album, but it's not.
Yes, I'm pretty sure I can speak for everybody. We all got bamboozled.
Yes, I went into this album. I was like, oh, this is cowboy hat. Okay, country. Let's see what this is like. And then
Nope.
Nothing at all.
It's not country
a total
music.
like 180. I was like interested, like what was like the motive, or what was like the idea behind the cowboy hats. But then looking into it, the two they just did a performance once just with cowboy hats, just kind of as like, it was like a little joke, just like a little like, just to like, like something fun. And then it stuck. And
okay.
I thought that was like really, like, I thought that was really neat. Just like, it's nice to have like, especially when you're performing or just like expressing yourself too. It's like, it's nice to have fun with. And so I thought that was like really neat. Like reading that, like the idea behind the cowboy hats is, it's not because like country, because like, when you cowboy hats, you're like, oh, this is going to be like country folk or like something mixed to that. And also like the album cover itself, it also gives me a bit of nostalgia too, because I feel like the like has like clouds behind it, and just like the like looking off in the distance, it reminds me of these like old albums I have in like my basement back home, because like my grandpa was a big country fan, so like so I have like albums that are like have like a similar like style theme to it, so so that like brought me like personally like nostalgia, but also like too, if like you're looking at like kind of like older like country albums. So I thought that was like a cool, like kind of like a cool like funny start, like going into it. And then now like diving into the music. Sorry, I'm just like, let me tell you about, I need to talk about the cover album.
No,
it's a really important aspect of this specific album. It's like, let's be honest, Sunset Honor Unit, such an honorable name, with the cover art itself, featuring two guys in their country hat, and one guy's wearing, I think that's a red flannel, and which it's country, but if you go dive into it, haha, you were joked kind of thing. So yeah, please continue.
Oh, for sure. Like it's just like, I thought that was great. And then, so like diving into the first one, like the beginning of the album is Don't Want to Fall in Love. And that one is like a pretty like, I would say like rock inspired, like upbeat. And I really enjoyed the vocals in the album, and like especially in this song too, because it's just like I don't want to like a lot of the lyrics being like I don't want to fall in love alone, and so but since it's like talking about like the idea of like one-sided love, and I thought it was like a neat take that song. It's like when you're talking about you don't want to be alone when you're falling for someone, but it was like it had a very upbeat take on it though, because like when you think of like a theme like that, it's the first thing you think of is like probably like not like laid back, but like sad,
heartbroken,
kind of
yeah, exactly,
yeah.
And I thought it was like neat, like just like a neat take on it.
Yeah.
And then also another song I want to jump into as well, like it's my personal favorite on the album, is I Saw It in Her Eyes.
Oh yes, that was a good one.
I love that song. Like I've been listening it to like for so like that song like really stood out to me like in the album. It just like something about it reminds me of like almost like a lullaby, but it's not like soft though. But I think just like the way it was sung, because I thought it also had a good storytelling to it, because it's like they're talking to in a perspective that someone they're talking to either like trust or it could be someone like they love. It's just like that, like something like one of the lyrics is that something was wrong. It's like you can just like tell by the look on their face, and I think that's like really important too, and also in day-to-day lives too, because sometimes it's hard to fully express how you're feeling.
Yes.
And like that like saying like the eyes are the window to the soul, like, and I feel like that like really was represented well in that song in particular, because like in the song it's talking about like lies that were told, but you can tell what the truth was just through that conversation and like through their eyes, like they saw it in their eyes, and I thought that was like really like the storytelling, but it was also honest in a sense, even though it's the whole like lyrics itself being like I could tell like through the lies I can tell that something's up.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was like a neat, like almost like a coin, almost like two different sides of it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest, one thing that I also kind of noticed from this album was, like you mentioned, the vocals. It was very like the vocals were very clear. And I think sometimes in certain albums, it's kind of hard for me to like listen to the lyrics if it's, if there are so many sounds that are kind of covering the vocals. But in this album, the vocals were very clear, and I could always understand what was being said. And especially in the first song, I kind of appreciated that because of the message of that song. I thought that was very important. And yeah, also their voices are just really nice.
yes.
100%.
Yeah. It was something that I want to add on is especially with I Saw It in Her Eyes kind of thing. I really resonate with your comment in terms of we really have to look through people's eyes to like kind of like get a feeling whether they're telling the truth or not. It's something that I think I value the most in terms of my interpersonal relationships, not just romantic relationships, but I always try to look through people's eyes, and I know it's a bad habit, but I like to kind of read people's minds, and I just look through their eyes when they're speaking about something, and I'm like, like, are you sure about that? And they're like, no, I lied, and it's just I can get it kind of like right away, and I feel that it's something really good. And I want to say that even though the song, the entire album itself, it's not country music at all, but the things that they talk about is something that quite resonates with the genre of country itself, because country music itself is just generally like guitar heavy, and talks about like life lessons and like our relationships and our family and like our homesteads and everything. If you think about it, this album talks about the same thing, but in a more of a synth pop way.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Like it was it's really has been an interesting, like, an incredible take of this album, and like just like listening to it as well, it honestly just like really like impressed me, and also just like the comment you said earlier, just like how clear everything was in it, because sometimes with like songs or like sometimes it can be hard to interpret. Be like it could go either way, but I like how like straightforward it was, but also, you know, room to kind of also apply it to yourself on what is being sung in the song. And I thought that was really good. And also like with the instrumental part as well, I noticed that the album too, they would always do like a really nice like guitar riff, like that was like thrown in, and like that really like stuck out to me too, because it was just really good. Like like that was like a common thing I noticed like throughout like the various songs in it. And even though it's like not a country album, so I like I feel like there's gonna be a lot that I talk about for this. I'm like, it's not a country, looks like one, but it's not.
Exactly.
What I kind of found interesting too is that in the song Glitter Canyon, I felt like it had like a Western vibe to it, like not like country, but just like the song itself, like especially in like the beginning, it just like that's because like also like the title of it being Glitter Canyon, like you're thinking, you know, like Midwest, and just like you're talking about before with like the lyrics,
Buffalo glitters.
A little dash, like you spill a teaspoon of glitter, it's everywhere.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Like, you know,
just a little sprinkle.
Who needs the snows on the mountain when we have like glitters? Like, just bring out a glitter bomb, you know.
Makes it more appeasing to the eye too.
Exactly.
A little sparkle in our lives. You always need that. And like, I thought it was like cool, like with that album too. And again, like tying into like what you said before, even though it has like. It like intersects or complements like country albums or like country songs, and I'd say like that song in particular definitely did, because like with like different songs in it, you could like argue that it leads, say, one more of like a rock pop, especially like don't want to fall in love, like that one in particular, like it's like the first one I think of on the spot, but like that one too, like. And what I also think is like really neat too, another song I want to like throw out is Birds of Paradise. I really enjoyed that song as well. That one, it talks about like having trouble hiding your feelings. Ooh. And
you and I, we went both ooh.
It's really tying into like with the album you're talking about too, just like the Unacquainted Love, this one being like just like hard, like one of the lyrics being like lost my disguise. That's like one of the lyrics in the song, and it's just like when you have like strong feelings for someone, it's like sometimes you just can't hide them. It's like being honest with how you feel.
Been there, done that.
Real.
Real.
I think everybody could probably relate to that.
Everyone's just like,
at some
been
point
there.
in their lives.
Either been there or going through it.
Oh, yikes. I feel you. Yeah, that song, like, it's definitely something that Maxh and, you know, Sunset Honor and they both talk in common. Not because, you know, it's a good topic to talk about in their album, but also it's very human.
Yeah.
When you think about it. So I don't know. I like the very human things, and it was. So yeah, I like it.
Yeah. The album was honestly a really good surprise, as we keep mentioning. But kind of tying into the sort of cowboy but not country theme, I'm gonna talk about the EP called No One Makes It Out Alive by Wiener Kebab, which is not a country album, but you could describe it as, or at least the band describes it as cowpunk. Yes.
Oh, 100%.
A term which I don't think I've heard before talking to them. Now, this EP was released just last month on January 2nd, and the album is formed by both present and past McMaster students, but they're now based in Toronto. So Hamilton
Oh.
Origins.
Oh, I didn't know that. I
Yeah.
thought they were just Torontonian bands. Oh. And past and former McMaster students. Oh, okay. Okay, definitely.
Yeah, so this album, honestly, again, it kind of has a mix of a bunch of different things. Like sometimes you hear rock, metal, some jazz is in there, but overall, I think the band also said that they kind of combined the unique aspects of every band member, like their background, to kind of create an album that encompasses everything here. And we start off with the song Overture. Now this song kind of
Yes.
okay. What I will say is you feel like you're in like a Southwest movie with like cowboys.
Yes.
You know?
Oh, 100%.
Good old Wild West.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're kind of just like transported directly there, and I think I say here they use sort of the classical guitar and banjo in there, and it's kind of subtle in some areas, but it kind of adds on to the overall theme of the rest of the album. It kind of sets the rest of the album up, and I don't know, I just really love classical guitar. I feel like I don't hear it enough in modern music, so to hear it kind of used in an album like this, I really appreciated that. And then we kind of go on into Julio, which was their single before they released the EP, and this song is honestly pretty chaotic to say the least.
Oh, yeah.
Well, chaotic. Well, once again, this song made it onto our CFMU's top 5, which you haven't checked it out. You should probably check it out. And I described this album, and specifically Julio, as, quote, chaotic, but not in a bad way, because it'll just keep audiences on their toes. You will never know when and what is going to happen. And I want to say dynamic, like you know what I mean. Like
Yeah,
so
there's
many,
like a well thought chaos to it. Like there's a purpose.
and like so many different genres, but they're all coming in at the right time in a proper transitional ways.
Yes, that's actually one thing I want to talk about, is that especially in Julio, for example, you'll hear jazz, metal, and rock, and
Yeah.
you know those are not the only genres, but they put those sounds at the time where it makes sense in the story, like because the song talks about the story of somebody called Julio, which is kind of like some character, but like once you get to the metal part of the song, it just makes sense in that part of the song to have it there.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel you. Like totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, then you kind of move on to Bolero, and this song was kind of calmer, more constant than Julio. It kind of felt like I was waiting for something to happen. I mean, I guess it kind of goes along with the whole story that's being told throughout this EP, but one thing that I really loved in this album as well is their use of the saxophone.
Yes, saxophone, right.
Like adding in the jazz elements, kind of adding in the suspense. In Julio in particular as well, they kind of also used a saxophone, and I don't know, like just kind of just felt like, oh no, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah, like the anticipation.
Yeah, and then kind of going on to Breaking into Prison. This song kind of continues the story of Julio as well, and then kind of ending off with Death of a Cowboy, which I kind of guess makes sense in terms of the story. But overall, I just really liked the variety that you hear in this EP, and it kind of creates like a whole story. I mean, I guess it is a story, so it kind of makes sense. But
yeah, it's something that a lot of artists intend to do when they issue an EP or a full album or something like that, to have the track list of an album 1 to 6 or 12 and like make it into a chronological story order. We don't see that kind of things often anymore, I think. And I think Wiener Kebab, with their album No One Makes It Out Alive, and as Noor, you described it, it was, well, first and foremost, it kept all of us on our toes, not knowing what's gonna happen. Then the span of like, well, the overture was only little less than 2 minutes, but most of the other songs were like 3 minutes to 4 minutes. Throughout that span of 3 to 4 minutes of time, you never knew what was gonna happen. And Bolero, that one was, as you described it, a calmer version of it. And it kind of kept, like, okay, something's gonna happen, because in Julio, it changed genre for like 3 times, so something's gonna happen. But you know what? You're once again bamboozled. Nothing happened. It's calm, and it's something. Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Julio, and Breaking into Prison made it into my own personal playlist. I'm listening to it whenever I'm driving right now. So I really like it. And yeah, your choice of this album, I like to commend you a lot. Like, very good. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. It's honestly such an exciting album. Like, just like listening to it, like there's that like anticipation, like what's gonna happen next. And like Wiener Kebab, they did such an exceptional job too. And it's also like really cool too, like being McMaster students or like McMaster alumni. It's like just like the creative take they really have done on this album, and it really, like, you couldn't have said it better. Definitely just like it's like a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really great EP if you want to check it out. But thank you so much, Jillian and Harrison, for joining me today on Open Mic. It was a pleasure to have you both here.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you again.
And I'll play Overture by Wiener Kebab, and I'll move on to play some songs by Maxh and Sunset Honor Unit as well.